Hey everybody, it's Megan with Love Lift Sing, and today I want to do a live video to talk to you about my new series called How to Adult, which kind of sounds a little weird, but if you are a young professional, a student, or even somebody who's been an adult for a while, you may have heard the phrase, I can't adult, or adulting is hard. It is something that a lot of my friends and I kind of joke about because it's important to be able to know how to live your best life, especially as young adults. So that's why I decided to present this series. And if you have not checked out the very first vlog and the first video, please do so. You can check it out on my website, loveliftsing.com, or you can check out my Facebook. I've got some links posted there. But today I want to talk to you about Banking 101 and why banking and financial stability is really important. And a little bit of backstory for me. I decided to take a job working for a bank, and I still work for the bank, and I've been there for almost 3 years. Started out as a teller, moved my way up to a banker, and so that's kind of where my knowledge is coming from, so it's not just out of thin air and something kind of random. And so I want to talk to you about why it's important to have that financial control. We all wish that we had more money. It is what it is, and a lot of the times I ask my customers when they say, oh, I wish I had more, I always say, well, how much is enough? That's a question I want you to think about, because it's not always about having a lot of money, but how do you use it? How do you maximize your financial needs, and what kind of goals do you have? It all plays a big part. So if you're like me and you kind of live paycheck to paycheck still, there are ways to still be successful and still be in control of your finances. So I want to go ahead and get started. If you do have questions, please post them in the comments and I will be answering them as we go along and also towards the end. So, very first thing, if you don't have a bank account, ask yourself, why do I not have a bank account? Bank accounts are really important. Stuffing your money under the mattress is not the go-to thing anymore. I still see it. In fact, I think one of the very first customers that I ever helped at the bank came in with fragmented, burned money because her house had caught on fire and all the money under her mattress was burned. And her question is, can I get this replaced? No, unfortunately not. So the bank is going to be your safest way. So if you don't have a bank account, there are tons of banks around you, I'm sure. So do your research, stop in, see the banker, talk to them, and find out what is good for you. And you don't necessarily have to have a checking and a savings. And if you've ever seen the Kevin Hart skit, which always cracks me up, where he's at the club and he's like, well, see, I got a checking and a savings account, and the way that it works, it's kind of funny. But you don't need to have a savings account. I encourage people to have a savings account, but if you're just starting out, checking is just fine. Now, depending on what financial institution you go to, a lot of the times you can look for an account that does not charge a monthly service fee. And I always encourage my customers to switch accounts if needed. It's very, very easy to do, and it's going to save you a couple bucks a month. So depending on what package you're in, maybe you're being charged $10 a month to have a checking account, and really there's a way for you to get it for free. So don't be afraid to go and talk to your banker and find out for sure if there's a package that they can help you save a little bit of money in. So that's the first thing. If you do have an account, are you getting charged a fee? If you are, go see your banker and see what they can do for it. We're not going to bite. We're real people. We get it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, how do you use your money? Do you use a debit card? Do you use a credit card? Do you use cash? Cash is king. I get it. And the problem with cash is that if you lose it, you lose it. Your debit card is going to be your best bet for your checking account to get started. If something happens and you lose your debit card, it's pretty easy to replace, so be responsible with it. But for me, I actually use credit cards for everything, which sounds scary, but I pay them off every month or pretty close to it, and it gives me that freedom to be able to get things that I need right away, and knowing I'm going to get paid and my cash flow, it works for me and I love it. Plus, I get rewards, so that's really exciting. The other thing with that is we're going to get to credit score in just a minute and kind of talk about what is credit score, why it's important, and how you can build it or how you can fix it. Actually, let's just move on to that right now real quick. With your credit score, a lot of people come to me and they're like, I've got great credit, or they may even say, I literally have no idea what my credit score is. If you don't know what it is, You need to find out. And it's really important. It's a skill. It's not something you can buy. So I've seen people who don't have a lot of money in their bank account have really awesome high scores. And then I've had people who have had the most money I've ever seen in their account have really low credit scores. So it's important to find that balance. It's a skill. You have to be able to use it properly. So how to use it properly? Well, your credit scores depend on a few things. It's basically how well do you borrow money? That's kind of the basics to it. So are you responsible enough that if the bank said, here's $5,000 on a credit line, are you going to max it all the way out? Or are you going to use a little bit of it, pay it back every month? Are you making monthly payments to it? It's really important. Now, I have seen people absolutely kill their credit score by not even having a line of credit or a loan or any credit related product at all. Because a lot of cell phone providers, a lot of internet and cable providers, medical bills, they are all factored into your credit score. So if you've never had a line of credit before or a loan, and maybe you've been sick and you had hospital bills and you know that they're piling up, you want to make sure you take care of those things because that is the basis of your credit score as well. So that's really important. Now, credit scores will range anywhere from, I think it's like 300 to 850. Obviously, the lower you are, it's not so good. You want to try to aim for a credit score between, we'll say this, at least 600. That's a good solid start. Now, a good credit score usually begins at about 700. The better your credit score, the more likely the bank is going to be able to provide you with extra lines of credit or a higher line of credit, or even lower interest rates as well. So if you've got a credit card or a car loan or any kind of an installment loan, a mortgage, it's really important. So the higher your score, the better off you're going to be in the long run. And if you're my age and you're in your I'm in my mid-20s already. If you're kind of in your mid-20s or you're thinking about moving on and purchasing a home or even purchasing a car, it's really important to have that good credit score built before you dive into that so you can get the best rates, the best terms, the whole 9 yards. Now, back to being responsible with your money. If you've got the bank account, chances are your bank has an online banking or a mobile app. If you're not checking it every day, you need to, for a couple of different reasons. One, it's going to help you prevent from overdrafting, which is another thing that I just don't overdraft. You're throwing money away. So if you need to, you need to, but try to avoid it at all costs by checking your account on a regular basis. So don't be like, well, I didn't know I spent that much. Y'all, we're on our phones all day. We're on our phones all day, so check your balances. The other reason is because if there's any fraudulent activities going on, this is going to be key in order to catching it and stopping it right away. And then, of course, alerting your bank that there has been fraudulent activities on your account. I check mine every day, probably 60 times a day. I don't know why. A watched pot never boils, so a watched bank account is never going to grow. But I always check it first thing in the morning. There was 2 days that I went, this was a couple years ago, there were 2 days that I went without checking my account. I woke up one morning and somebody had made a fake check off of my account and took out $2,500. I didn't even have that much in my account. I think I had like maybe $100. $2,500, and I'm like, well, what do I do now? So it's important, stay on top of it. Now, with overdrafting. Okay, as a banker, look, I get why we charge overdraft fees, but there's no reason why you should ever overdraft on purpose, I guess I could say. It's just throwing money away. It's throwing money away for something stupid, I think. I've seen people overdraft and get a $36 overdraft fee for buying a Starbucks, and that's not necessary. So be smart with it. You want to be able to maximize what you are doing. Again, I have to look at my notes sometimes because I kind of start to ramble and I'm not sure where I'm going with it. But go see your banker. If you have any questions, come and see us. Like I said, we're not going to buy it. We want to make sure you're in the best package possible. We want to make sure that you're in the best setup possible. And let us know if you have questions and you're like, you know what, I really hate renting my apartment and I really kind of want to buy a home. How do I get started? Or I have a car loan. I feel like I might be paying too much for it. Can you take a look at my rate and see if I might be able to get a lower rate? It's important. We want to be able to help you as well. So, what is the other thing I want to say? Oh, Dave Ramsey, he is a really good resource. So use your resources. Check your credit score. In my blog, I'm going to be putting a link to a really good website that I recommend. It's called annualcreditreport.com. It's free. It's backed by the government, so you know it's like good to go. But Dave Ramsey, he's got some really good tools about getting out of debt or avoiding debt. Now, his thing is he doesn't recommend using credit cards. It's kind of whatever works best for you. I use them. They work for me. But just use your resources, ask the questions, be responsible, and this is going to make your life so much easier. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and shoot them into the comments, and I will be sure to answer them and let you know what I think. But y'all have a great evening, and be sure to check out the rest of my series because I'm going to have some what I think might be some good tips to help make things a little bit easier for your life. So we'll see you later. Bye.